Hi, I'm Chet, Marchwinski, Communications. At the center of lean product and process development effort is a single responsible leader called the Chief Engineer. Today I'm going to talk to two CEs. Hi, my name is Chet Marchwinski. I'm Communications Director of the nonprofit Lean Enterprise Institute, and today I'm talking to two CEs. My guests are Alan Labez. He is the Chief Engineer of the TechnipFMC Subsea 2.0 platform and the company's first ever Chief Engineer. He has held roles in product development, engineering, and systems engineering. Alison Weber is TechnipFMC's Chief Product Developer of the Subsea 2.0 tree product lines. She has held leadership roles in several subsea tree product and product development groups. Allison, Alan, thank you both for coming in and taking time away from the Lean Product and Process Development Conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for being here.
How did the Obeya process at your company begin and evolve over time? Did it change as you learned as it went?
The Obeya definitely changes with time, just naturally on a project is one thing I'll say.
Oh, okay.
So in my experience, as you transform between different phases of your program, your Obeya should change and transform along with that in order for you to communicate the latest problems that you're having or bring the right people together to solve those problems. So for example, in the beginning when you're in heavy conceptual development, trying to figure out what your vision or what your targets are going to be, you're going to see a lot more theoretical concepts around. You're going to see a lot more trade-off curves being developed and knowledge gaps being communicated and things like that. And then as you're working to then close those knowledge gaps on your front runners, we then had our Obeya kind of change more into bringing together the procurement team and the engineering team to be able to come together and release parts, get prototypes made, and then be able to test things and know if they worked or didn't work against our knowledge gaps.
It's a good idea having engineering and purchasing collaborate up front like that then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very helpful. If you don't do that, it's going to be harmful in the end, and you lose so much potential time that you can gain by just talking and communicating daily. Mm-hmm. So, and the way we actually were able to do that more successfully on my team was we would put like a picture of our fixtures with all the different parts on there. That way the procurement team could physically see what they were buying. A lot of the times when they buy things before, they just get like a list of parts and they have no idea what's the biggest part on that bill of materials. And by having them be able to see things, they could quickly point at something and say, that's going to take 6 weeks to get here. That's your critical item to get released
first. And this
first,
is a scale,
for example.
scale model of the...
Some of them were to scale, but not all of them. Some of these fixtures were fairly large. But it would just give an indication of what you're buying and give them kind of an idea of this is a bolt, this is a large forging, this is going to be a plate, and then they can quickly tell you what they need from you first. That way you can really work together and have that collaboration. And then the other big things in the Obeya is just the way that we manage our schedule. And that's transformed over time. And quite honestly, that's transformed more because at first when I set it up, I had it the way that I thought was best. But the team just took it over and made it their own. And it's just so much better now. It's what they want it to be. It's what they use. And they take a lot more accountability for their tasks that way as well. Mm. So.
Alan, how about your experiences with Obeya? How did it evolve over time?
So when we started the Obeya, it was very traumatic because we didn't know what to do. We just knew that we had to put everybody standing up, looking to a wall, and solving the problem. So it was a lot of discussions and people arguing one to another. So it was.
Oh, really?
I don't know if it's a Brazilian Latin blood got aggressive, but so over time we learned more about surfacing the problems, see what the problems are. Let's get together to solve them. So the Obeya is a really good tool to surface these problems. So and the team needs to feel comfortable with that. So it's the leadership behavior. It's extremely important at this time, because if once a problem is surfaced, instead of offering help, they slap their hands, then next time the problem will not be shown again, but eventually it's going to come up to get you later. So the Obeya is our our tool to detect normal from differentiate normal from abnormal, and get back on track. So it's a really good tool to manage that. One other thing that we do also, it's I don't know if it's a common practice on Lean, but we have the team working inside the Obeya. So we believe strongly on the power of co-location of the team. So it's not just a location where you go and meet, but it's also where you work. So having the team working together, it's extremely powerful to have the flow of information as fast as you can. And I have seen multiple times down on the site that I work, that we have a few Obeyas, that the information flow, I mean, it falls down speed like exponentially with distance. So if it's like 3 steps later, it's already you already lost something. So I strongly believe in that. And then once you have this co-location, then you can have multiple elements being worked together. So on a system, this is very powerful, because you can see how one component interferes with the other and converge to a best solution. So for complex systems, the more you can co-locate, the better. Then gets to the challenge on, you can't do that on a project that has like 200 people as you have on 2.0. And even if you co-located everybody, they would not actually be physically co-located. I mean, really co-located, because 200 people is just in a normal room. So when you start creating these interfaces, then working with these interfaces is a big challenge. So
Are there technical interfaces?
there are, I mean, technical and geographical interfaces.
Oh,
so,
okay.
They're both. Yeah.
Where the people are co-located in the Obeya, do you bring outside, or how do you bring people, for a meeting to join in the Obeya? Do you have video conferencing or something like that, or
Yeah, we do both. We have we have actually something that we call the magic table in many of our Obeyas. So the magic table is nothing more than a big table made of glass, so you can draw. And we have a projector on the roof, so you can project a drawing there. And so, I mean, that is a really good tool, because engineers love to draw. So once somebody sits there on the table, then other engineers start to sit around, and then they suddenly start discussing about problems. So
and then you can share that with other.
And then you can share that. So yeah, we use a lot of these video communications tools. But they are not effective as being present. So I mean, you have to use them. I mean, it's much better not to have them, because you can't put everybody in the same location. But the more you can put the people at the same location, the better. And the more you minimize these interfaces, and the better for the project as well.
Technical aspect of the product you're building that's going to sit at the bottom of the ocean. So these are engineers, highly sophisticated environment, and you're telling them, you mentioned this a little bit, and you're telling them we're going to start putting paper on the wall and talking about it, and stickies and things like that. And how did that go over at first? Was that a problem?
Yeah, so there is an interesting story about that. We started to look at the Lean tools, visiting some other companies, with the Lean Institute in Brazil helping us. And we sent one of our engineering systems manager to visit these companies. One of the companies they visited was Embraer, which is an aircraft manufacturer. And they are very, very advanced on the Lean process and tools. So our director by the time asked this guy, so what did you like, what you didn't like, how are they? And they say, well, I mean, very good, except the way they do the schedule and planning, that's very, I mean, they are very poor. I mean, they put the papers on the wall. I mean, we are much more robust. We put everything on the Primavera, on the computer. We know exactly how long everything's going to take. I mean, we are much, much better. And then our director by the time said, well, but we actually suck at delivering on time. So these guys are much better than we are, so maybe there's something there. So, and then we start to experiment, but it took us a very long time to only rely on the paper on the wall. So we would duplicate the computer in the wall.
Yeah.
So it was then we were doubling the effort, and we were having to work on fixing the wall, then fixing the computer, then they would not be matching, and eventually nobody was actually looking to the computer anyway, so the thing vanished. It faded away by itself. So that's what.
Well, it's a tough step
That's
to
what
take.
happened there. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, simply became useless over time and died. So it took a while, but that's our
You got
experience there.
Yeah. Allison, how about the experience with your team? How did they react to the Obeya the first time, and doing everything by paper?
Some immediately were excited that there was something that gave the engineers kind of accountability back. So they wanted that change. But I'll say most were the crossed-armed people that sat around and stared at the wall and just went with it because we were telling them that this is the new way we're gonna work at first. So I think if I had to think about the reasons for that, though, so the way we used to work, like Alan said, was you'd have a schedule in Primavera or some kind of like software, and like a planner would make up the schedule, and it was based on a historical old schedule that we just like copy, and we'd use that for the next project, right? So many people had never had to think through their tasks. They were only told what the next thing that they're going to do is. And so when you shifted the expectations of them to say, okay, we have this vision for our next big, goal on the team. Can you please plan out what you want to do and like be accountable for that? I think there was just a knowledge gap of people weren't trained and ready to start thinking through, okay, well, what do I need to do first and why? They were always just used to kind of someone else shifting that in. And I would say that by doing the paper schedule with the sticky notes, it's developed people so much. So you can just see how much stronger people have become as not just engineers, but designers, analysts, and then they could all then interact together in the daily meetings to understand how their work affects the next person more clearly. And so, before on a program, because I was lead engineer on a previous project, everything had to go through me to get delegated out to the various people. So if the designer was doing a task that affected the next analyst, it would just come back through that hierarchy. And now what I'm noticing is the interaction is the designer and the analyst will work directly together looking at the model and then just pass it over immediately. And it's taken out that wasteful step of having to go back through certain people to be able to really finish a task.
Yeah.
And so that's been one of the biggest successes of this in my mind. And I always remember Eric saying one thing is, if you go to an Obeya and you see the same handwriting on the entire wall, it's failing immediately. It's not actually being used correctly.
That's your coach, Eric.
Eric Ettington.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And so when you walk up to our wall lately, I'm very proud because there's like really clean handwriting, really messy handwriting, but it's diverse. Everyone writes their own tasks, and you can just tell that there's the entire team is contributing to that wall and taking a part of it. But there was definitely resistance at first.
Yeah,
so.
But that's a good point about just that very simple noticing that there's different handwriting all over, and it's not someone just using Obeya, but it's still one person doing all the work like that. Yeah, great point. Great discussion, guys. Allison, Alan, thanks a lot for coming by and sharing your thoughts at the conference. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks.
And thank you for watching. To learn more about lean product and process development, go to leanpd.org. That's leanpd.org, and sign up for our monthly e-letter.